All right, it looks like it's 6 o'clock. So, Laura, if you'd like to do a roll call for us, please.
All righty. Becky Bowler.
Here.
Vic Fasolino.
Here.
Diane Milheim.
Here.
Ryan Neve.
Here.
Clark Patton. George Stanziel. And Jeff Frigadenhill.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
All right, thank you so much. We have the minutes from a few months ago at our last meeting.
Nice break.
If everyone has had a chance to review the minutes, and if everything seems all right, if we can get a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I make a motion to approve.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? All opposed? All right, unanimous. All right, now we'll do public comment. So if anyone,
Agenda.
the agenda. The agenda. I skipped over the agenda, sorry. Would anyone care to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Hopefully that wasn't a problem out of order. Now, public comment. If anyone has a comment on anything tonight? All right, seeing no one, we'll move on to our first item of new business, which is to recommend tabling approval or denial to the Board of Commissioners for case number 24-12, preliminary final plat for 360 Steep Point Road.
Good evening, Board. Glad to get the band back together. It's good to see you all. Tonight we have a small subdivision that we're bringing to you. Now, this does not qualify as an exempt subdivision under the statute, so we are bringing it through for full approval process. But we're looking at the preliminary and final plat at the same time because there's no public infrastructure that needs to be created or improved or anything like that. So we're able to look at it the same. Tonight we do have Mr. Pulley here as the applicant who can speak to the request, but this is just a two-lot subdivision. There's an existing structure on the lot and they want to build a second house, so that they're going to do that subdivision so that they can build a second house at that location. Are there any questions from the board?
Can you just put the map on the screen, please?
The subdivision map, so it should be the big one farther down. Yeah. Okay.
So essentially, you have two lots off a gravel driveway.
Yes.
One of them having frontage on the street and the other one not.
They will have I think it's actually three lots. The one lot is,
Is it two lots or three?
two lots. So there is one lot, they're sharing that drive. So they're sharing that frontage. They've both got frontage on a private street. And I apologize if I'm not as familiar with this agenda item. This is typically Kyle's item, and he'll be taking this to the commissioners next month. So I'm just subbing in for him. He's at a conference today.
Michelle, I think there was something, and I apologize that I have not had a lot of time to prepare for this. There was something, the police department asked for a sign. Is that right?
Yes, just a street sign to identify the private drive.
Okay.
So that emergency response can identify that as the private street, not just a regular driveway.
Perfect. Thank you.
Will each lot be required to have their own septic systems?
Yes, and the existing lot has their septic systems, and they've already provided the septic and well information for the proposed new lot.
So what has been the town's policy on private roads? I mean, the rear lot obviously doesn't have public right-of-way frontage. It has private road frontage. What's been the town's policy?
Like with any other private subdivision, as long as they've got frontage on the road, then that serves as the road, whether it's publicly or privately maintained, that now becomes a street. It's not a public street that the town maintains. It's a private road for them.
So it'd be like a private road inside of any private subdivision, but it's not built to the standards of a normal subdivision road, right?
No, it's a gravel street. It's just a
Right.
driveway. That's illustrated, it's just a driveway. My only question would be, the lot, it's not the lot in the subdivision, but the property which is to the east of the driveway, not this property. Is it the owner's intent to share this driveway with future property owners?
I'll let the applicant answer that.
No, it's not our intent. They, the land to the east, they have their own private road accessing their property. It's all owned by one individual, and they haven't expressed any interest to trying to tie in.
And you're gonna, is the second house that's getting built on your property, is that one for you or for someone else?
Yes, it would be for my wife and I. So my in-laws own this property at 360 Sea Point Road, and my wife and I were married at the beginning of this year, and
Mr. Pulley, if I could have you come up here, just, it'll pull it on the record for the minutes a lot easier if you're on the microphone.
all right, well, good evening. My name's Alex Pulley, and I appreciate y'all considering this plat. To answer your questions, this property is owned by Donald and Betsy Noonan, and they are my mother and father-in-law. So I married into this family, and I met my wife here. Let's see, I moved to Beaufort in 2020, and she was already here. She owns a store on Front Street called Southern Frock. It's a ladies' clothing line, and so they've been here about 10 years. Well, her parents live here at 360 Steep Point, and Emily and I are married now, and we've been trying to find a house to live. We want to continue to live here in Beaufort, and this idea was actually hatched by my father-in-law, who was very generous to offer us a piece of his property so that we could build a house and remain close to them. But the issue we ran into was that there's already an existing second structure on the property. There's an old barn, and so the town told us, you can't have more than two structures, and so we've come up with this subdivision to try and build a house back there. But this is where we intend to live. The house we want to build is a small bungalow, I'd call it. The intent is that it will be the guest house to the main house, and one day Emily and I will inherit the whole property. So this is just so that we can have a place to live, raise our children, and stay here in Beaufort, because this is where we love and we want to be right here. So that's why we've gone through this process. I've been working with Kyle Garner since probably May on this to try to meet the town's requirements. It's because it's over 2 acres, I understand it falls in a different level of regulations, and so that's why we've had to get surveyors and consultants, and we've even had CAMA representative or consultant help us, because it is their piece is on the water. So, but we've gotten it finally to this stage, and I hope that y'all would recommend approval. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, yes, sir.
Does anyone have questions of the applicant? I have a question. I don't know which one of you. So it's dividing into 2 lots. Will the land that the private road is on belong to one of those lots, or is it a third parcel?
The idea is that we'll own that as joint tenants.
Joint tenant. So it's a third parcel that,
And that's my understanding,
Okay.
to meet the requirements for the road frontage,
okay.
that we could hold it as joint tenants, and then it'll be 2 lots, one that my wife and I will hold, and then the existing lot that my in-laws will continue to
Okay.
hold.
That makes sense.
Yes, sir.
I don't know that we've had something quite like this.
Yeah.
I think Kyle would call it unique. I mean, I don't think this is something that y'all typically see, but this is just so, like I said, so we can be close to family and stay here in Beaufort. So,
Sounds good, yeah. I think they exist in town. I just don't think we've created one in a while. So.
yeah. There was something that we looked at, a different subdivision that we kind of a go-by that y'all maybe had on your July, or maybe it was earlier this summer, and, but I don't know if that was,
In July.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a family-to-family deal or if they were trying to sell, but we intend to hold, this property and make our home here forever. So we're not trying to, sell this or make any money on this, so.
Mr. Chairman, seeing as I think there was another way it could have been done, at least it's not a flag lot.
Correct.
The back lot could have been a flag lot, the front lot could have had frontage on Steep Point Road, and it's the same. Given, I don't even really think it's a unique circumstance, they both are ample-sized lots, they've got their permits for health and septic tank, I'd go ahead and recommend they approve the subdivision.
All right, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? No? All right, all in favor of approval indicate. All opposed? All right, passes unanimously.
All right, thank y'all very much.
All right, and I think our next and only other item is a scheduling item. To see when we can come up with, when we can meet next year. Does anyone have any comments on the dates proposed?
Works for me.
I don't think any of them are holidays.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we approve the proposed calendar as presented.
Second.
All right, any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it's unanimous. All right. Back up to the agenda here. And that is the end of new business. We are on to board comments. Jeff?
I really like skipping every other month, I recommend we continue.
Wait, didn't we miss 2 months? I think we missed 2 months.
3 months.
Oh, it could be.
July.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'll just say, as we've said before, really appreciate how prepared staff always is. I feel like it makes it easy for us. We get the information well ahead of time and have plenty of time to review it, so thank you for that. Michelle, I think you have been a huge positive addition to town staff, so thanks for all you're doing.
And can I ask you, Michelle, a question on the UDO? When do we expect to hear back from Smith and Tyson?
Yes, I was going to cover a little bit of that
Fine.
update on my staff comments, so I won't interrupt you if you want to continue with other commenting.
That's it.
Okay.
That's my only comment. And thank you for your work.
Yes, sir.
Diane?
I concur with Becky. Great job. Love getting the packets. They're efficient. They're well put together. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yep, thank you for everyone. It's good to see everyone. Thank you for everyone to come out. It's good to see you, Charlie. Welcome back. Yeah, I'll look forward to hearing what we can do. I guess the comment I'll do in advance of that is if the consultants can recommend anything that we might be working on in the meantime, it seems like we have some resources available that aren't being used.
That's a
But-
great idea, a little summer reading before the semester
To
starts.
ask them if there's any, I don't know, appendices that need
Little
working
homework,
on,
yeah.
Homework or anything.
So we are wrapping up the code assessment phase. We brought it to the commissioners this past week. So we're finishing out the review, and that's considered phase one. And so we're on the precipice of looking at phase two and looking at what that workflow would be, discussing with the consultant what that timeline would be. It's looking at like 2 to 3 years for this whole project. Understanding that, of course, with the resiliency grant that the town has gotten, that we want to put all of those things up front so that we've got that draft ordinance for amendment, which is that deliverable for the grant within the year timeline of the grant. So we'll be looking at a lot of those really heavy items for resiliency right out the gate. when usually you might look at structure of the document or something like that first. So we'll be hitting the ground running once the UDO Phase 2 starts out, and it'll go in modules. So they have it set out in 5 different modules, and we'll look at different concepts in those different modules. So Phase 2, Module 1, hopefully kicking off after the first of the year, depending on how the Board of Commissioners move forward with that project. And at that point, we'll have the UDO Steering Committee is going to kind of work with staff. So whenever we have a staff draft of something, it'll be town staff and the Steering Committee. So Planning Board will have eyes on the ground level, as well as the commissioners, and then we kind of hash out some of the dirty details, get it to a better draft level, bring it to the Planning Board for review. So everything will go through the Planning Board for review and recommendation before it goes to the Board of Commissioners, and that's kind of the flow that we'll continue to use. We're still identifying the interaction that we want to have with the consultant as far as visits versus Zoom meetings, things like that. But we know that we've got kind of a rough timeline of about 3 years, so you guys will be very busy coming up soon, so I hope you've enjoyed your break. And we'll kind of hit the ground running and get that work done over the next couple of years.
So do we expect Phase 2, Module 1, they will basically write it and then bring it to the town?
It'll be a collaborative effort, a back and forth, but we're also going to have a pretty heavy public outreach program, a lot of community engagement, and that's something that we've definitely heard from the commissioners and from the community as well. So as we're getting into the modules, the little bit more, it's easier to discuss specific items sometimes with regard to planning, because if you say landscaping and buffering, people are like, what are you talking about? You're like, okay, we want to have native vegetation over here
Right.
and some over here. And they're like, yeah, that sounds good. So you get a little bit more distinct items that you can talk about with the community and get input on. So we're looking forward to that. Doing a little bit more to get out into the community, not just in this space, but also potentially like community events. We talked about the farmers market. We talked about reaching out to churches or other areas of social engagement, making sure that we have information in the library, making sure we have information in a couple different kinds of places. And then obviously posting it on social media, which some folks use. But they have this really great platform where it's called Conveo, and you can make comments directly in the draft, and you can see other people's comments and things like that. So kind of like a PDF where you put comments, but everybody's able to access it. So I'm looking forward to being able to use that. And they're continuing to use me as the project manager, so I'll be the conduit for all of the comments to send to them, both with the Conveo and working with commissioners, board members, people in the town. Folks call the office, want to know more about it. So I'm the point person on the project, which I'm really excited about, actually. Doesn't sound like a fun thing for most people, but it is for me. So I'm really excited to get the show on the road. So we're looking at the first of the year for that to kind of kick off.
I have
Okay.
one question.
Okay.
Conveo, is it a software or?
It's like a website.
Technology tool?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
website, so we would have a link for it. But obviously, we also want to have like hard copy versions of everything. I'm not on social media, so I know that a lot of people are also not on social media. So if you can't catch me via email, you might not catch me. So having stuff in hard copy form also that we can have for people to review, or, we've even talked about sending out postcards to residents and things like that. So getting a couple different modalities to get this in front of people, but also with the language to be something that they can digest and not just like, oh, zoning ordinances, I don't know what that is, trash. So making sure, and Tyson, their firm has worked with a lot of municipalities in North Carolina, so I'm sure they're no stranger to getting that public outreach, and then they had some pretty good ideas, and they heard pretty heavily from the commissioners that that's something that we want to make sure that we drive home.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of? All right. With no more questions, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make such motion.
All right.
I'll second that motion.
Very good. All in favor? Unanimous. We are adjourned.
I think that was our fastest meeting ever.
Yeah.